Everyone is talking about using AI to generate architecture from scratch, but this is not what this is. This rendering came from a detailed 3D model, and that is why it looks this good. Here's the truth. AI is only as good as the information you give it. Garbage in, garbage out. And in architecture, that means that the 3D model has to do the heavy lifting. In this video, I'm gonna show you the exact process of how much 3D modeling you need to generate these kind of renderings. The specific tool I use to render it with NanoBanana Pro, how I approach prompting, and the post-production that turns a great rendering into an amazing rendering. Because AI is not replacing your skills, it's rewarding them. Time out. If you're ready to elevate your practice and position your business at the forefront of architecture, you shouldn't be figuring out AI alone. Inside the Gaia Academy, you get direct access to cutting-edge workflows and a global network of forward-thinking architects mastering these tools together. To join us, just comment the word community below and I will send you the link straight to you, or click the link down in the description. All right, let's get back to the video. Okay, so let's jump into the video. So here are a few of the items that I'm gonna kind of going through for us to kind of, tell you, like show you how to use the stylized rendering. So now the first step to that we need to, take into consideration for this particular process is that we are using AI as a rendering engine. So think about it as a replacement to V-Ray or DeFi Render or any other source that you're using it for rendering, because there's three components on how to use AI for images, right? So you can use AI for ideation, right? When it's like you have a massive model, you just want a general ideas of the design, then you normally will use AI for ideation. Then you have a hybrid, which is a mixture of ideation and rendering, where you will give the AI directions on specific items or specific models, but then you still let the AI figure out elements like the background or the sky, or even you just create the openings, but you want the AI to kind of give you a more photorealistic ideas of windows and door styles and things like that. So that's a hybrid. And that's what a lot of people are using right now. But then you have the third method, which is using it as solely rendering engine. And that's the method I'm going to be showing you, is how to use it as a rendering engine. So now let's move to the first example here. And the first thing to talk about is the quality of the models. So because you are rendering and you're not using AI for ideation, you're using AI for rendering, you want to have a detailed 3D model. And the main reason why this process works so well is because you have control on the 3D model. Meaning, if for whatever reason the client comes to it and say like, hey, I don't really like this part, or can you change this or that? You know that you can go back to the 3D model, change that, and you can render in rather than having the AI edit it. Because as we all know, AI is just not great at editing well. So that's one of the things you want to have complete control. You need to have a detailed model. So this is a model based on Archicad that you can go ahead and have your own 3D model. Again, what I will suggest you is you want to have the best results out of it is just detail as much as possible. Something also to consider is to try to not add any dimensions or names or things like that, and keep the shadows very light, because if you keep darker shadows, the more the AI might not understand what you're saying. Great. So that's the first step. Once you have a 3D model in place, now we're going to go to the next step, which is the prompting, right? And the tool you can use. So the tools that you really want to use for this when it comes to AI renderings, as of right now, the best tool is NanoBanana Pro, because it's able to keep as much as the structures of a building as you can. So there's many ways to use NanoBanana Pro. You can use it through Gemini. You can use it through AI Google Studio. You can use it through sources like OpenArt, right? So if you come here, these are sources I like to use, which is OpenArt. I like this tool because it gives you a lot of let's call it options to play with it. You can do stories, you can do videos, you can do images, you can do characters, but at the same time it gives you the flexibility to use several models, not just NanoBanana Pro, but you can use, for instance, if you go to image here, you can use other models like GPT image, Grok image, Seedream, Clean, NanoBanana, Qwen, Flux. So you can use a lot of models. Ultimately, it's less important of which one you use, like OpenArt or all those things. The important thing is like you have that rendering engine, which is a NanoBanana Pro, right? That's what you want to make sure you have. So now that we have discussed what tool I use, the reason why I like to use these rather than, for instance, Gemini is because Gemini, a lot of the time, sometimes it might use NanoBanana 2, right? Which is not bad, right? But you want to make sure that you're also using NanoBanana Pro. Also, when it comes to Gemini, a lot of the time you can just, it will give you one image at a time. Whereas in sources like OpenArt or Krita and things like that, you can adjust the settings here to give you aspect ratios. You can adjust the resolution slightly from 1K to 2K to 4K. And at the same time, you can get 4 images at a time, right? So rather than me just going one by one and spending a lot of time on it, I can actually go ahead and just generate 4 ideations. In that way, I can, because a lot of times what's going to happen is when you render with AI, the first result might not be perfect. So I didn't just render it and just use the first one, right? So also in the ideation part, I did let the AI give me a little bit information on the background, just because the background was one of the things that we didn't model, just because at this point in the process, we just haven't modeled the background, and it's not as important. So just to have a very light, generic, atmospheric model, like atmosphere, it's okay. Time out. If you're ready to elevate your practice and position your business at the forefront of architecture, you shouldn't be figuring out AI alone. Inside the Gaia Academy, you get direct access to cutting-edge workflows and a global network of forward-thinking architects mastering these tools together. To join us, just comment the word community below and I will send you the link straight to you, or click the link down in the description. All right, let's get back to the video. Okay, so now that we discussed what tool I use, which is OpenArt and NanoBanana Pro, we are going to go to the next step, which is the prompting. Okay, so let's go with the prompting. And prompting is very easy on these tools. Now, depending on the tool that you want to use, the first thing I really recommend to everyone is to just start with very, very generic prompt, but let the AI help you enhancing the prompt. So that's the main thing. So for instance, in this case, this is the prompt that I will give to the AI, right? Use the graphic reference of image 1, right? To render image 2, keep the building and all elements intact. So what did I exactly mean by that? So this is the reference image I gave the AI. So that's the other pro tip to consider, is that you want to make sure that you give the AI referencing images, just because that style, no, sometimes it might screw things up, because you have to understand that whenever you give the AI graphic images, it's able to get the style of that. But sometimes it might just happen that the AI might not be able to separate a lot of the graphic elements, and it might actually bring architectural elements. So it might, in while trying to maintain that style, might be able to, it might bring these element here, or might bring these element here. So this is another thing with testing. You want to make sure that whenever you tell the AI to bring the graphic style, it's bringing the graphic style. It's not just adding things. So for instance, a lot of the things that sometimes NanoBanana Pro will be good at this is it actually will bring just the graphic style. But the more you keep testing, the more images you might bring, the more the AI might actually start bringing architectural elements. And that's when you have to give it the feedback on saying like, hey, not this image was not right. I just want you to give me the graphic styles. And if for whatever reason it keeps making the same mistakes, that is that already a leeway, that's already a way of telling you that the AI is not able to separate both. So then it's probably better to just find a different image reference. But this is the first image I give it, right? So this is the graphic references I'm talking about. And then when you talk about, okay, so what was the image 2? So image 2, it's this image, right? So I gave the AI these 2 images, right? So this is image 1 to the right side of me. So that is the graphic image that I wanted to use as a reference. On the left side is the image 2, which is the image I want the AI to render. And I'm going to explain this to you in a very easy way. So here you have the sketch, and then here you have this, right? So I'm just gonna give it an example. So you just have to come here, go to images, and then upload the image here, an image. you put upload images, and you will upload the images. So the first image that you will upload will be called image 1. The second image you upload will be called image 2. Right. So as long as you do that, the only thing you need to do is to make sure you say use the graphic, and then here you want to make sure you do add. Right. Once you do add, then you can select the image 1, and then you say add image 2. I want to make sure I want to say that to keep all elements intact, because that's a way of telling the AI to do not change anything, right? Like you're adding that extra specificity to make sure that's important. So here's the thing. Here's is what I really like about OpenArt and other sources that are kind of alike, is that you can come here and enhance the prompt. So in that way, you're not spending hours and hours, not hours, but you're not spending 20 minutes, 30 minutes on just trying to figure out the style. How am I telling the AI? Because you can still tell the AI, hey, I want a sketch render, but then how do I kind of give it even better input than just the sketch renders? By me just saying that, is able to generate all these information here. Now, if you see here, right? And because it's a generative tool, not all the time is going to give you the same enhancement prompt. So if I come here and delete this and I place this again, chances are that it's going to give me a very similar prompt, but it's not going to give me the same prompt, because this is a generative tool. It's not always giving me the same answer. In a way, it's just generating different ideations. So that's something to consider. Okay, great. So we were able to now use the prompt. Now I'm going to show you what was the result and how I did the post-production on this. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next step. So I was able to, once I start kind of playing with this, so just the first thing to understand is that you're not going to get, most likely you're not going to get, the first render is not going to be the best rendering. So something I'll suggest at the beginning is to start between 4 and 2 ideations, right? Generally speaking, you're going to ideate, I will say, at least 10 different images for you to start getting something that you really like. This was my first result, which was very good. And you can tell like how it's interchanging a few things. Again, it's able to still keep the same structure of the building. So you see how most of the changes really come from the background, because that was the one thing I didn't have a background. So it's able to ideate a lot there. And you will see that there's a few ideations within inside here, but it keeps the building the same. Right. So from there, you see how then it starts to make some changes, but this is after I have given it a few tries. So it's starting to guess what is that I really want. So yeah, so after I did like, I think 10 changes to it, sometimes, as I'm saying, it breaks the image, and you see how in this particular case, it's bringing the architectural reference from this image that I give it a timeout. If you're ready to elevate your practice and position your business at the forefront of architecture, you shouldn't be figuring out AI alone. Inside the Gaia Academy, you get direct access to cutting-edge workflows and a global network of forward-thinking architects mastering these tools together. To join us, just comment the word community below, and I will send you the link straight to you, or click the link down in the description. All right, let's get back to the video. So just as an example, this is the image I got from OpenArt, and this is the image I got at the end after post-production. So as you think, like, there is not that much post-production I needed to do, but the only 3 elements that I needed to do is just to make sure, clean up maybe a few little items here and there that the AI did, right? And a lot of that was part of me, just the model, or like, for instance, that cross there, maybe there was another line. The other thing was just to kind of, because the AI was creating ideation on the background, I just had to make sure that all that was very light, right? Nothing too harsh, right? Because we still don't have the background for this specific project. And then the last thing is to add just a little depth to it, because one of the things the AI does sometimes, and also it's because in my image, I didn't give it the depth, right? Everything was pretty much in one plane. So that's what the AI did. This shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes tops. So the first thing I did is, first of all, separate the layers, separate the main building from the background. And the way you do that is once you select subject, it will select most of the building. It might not do everything 100% right. So you might need to go to that extra layer here, for instance. You see how I separated the main building, and you separate them in a different masks, right? So now you have this one here, and then you have the other one. And from there, you're able to create a sense of depth. So for instance, in the background, the only thing I did, which is this, the background, right? I just duplicated the layer. I just give it like a 15% opacity, right? Which that's what I want. I didn't even have color. In the sketch render, the only thing I did is I changed the hue and the saturation. So it doesn't have that yellowish, too harsh of a yellowish tone. And then from there, that was it. I mean, then I just kind of give it an extra filter gallery here, right? Which in this case, if you go to the filter gallery, I just gave it that extra texture like that, right? And then you can pick, but again, it's very subtle. And the only reason I give this to just give an even emphasize that it has like a sketch render element to it. But that was it's almost, you can barely see it. And then lastly, I just give that depth layer, right? I just kind of lighten down that background. So the line weights kind of differentiate that from the front. And with that being said, then is when I export it and I create a JPEG, and that's pretty much the result that you see, right? So that's the 3D model of the building, of course. And this is the last sketch render. So you can kind of see the difference. And that's how you stylize the rendering. Thank you so much for watching. And if you find this video valuable, make sure to subscribe and like the video so we can show you more of these upcoming videos next week. Also, if you want to join a community of architects that want to learn AI, make sure to go to the link below and join the free community called Gaia Academy, which is generative AI for architects. And in that way, there's going to be courses, there's going to be templates, there's going to be workflows, there's going to be a community for architects that want to learn AI. And with that being said, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.